Hello, guys. Nat Blue here, and I watched Thunderbolts last night. I went directly after work, which was a crazy idea, so I did not record my review last night because it was way too late. But I wanted to take a moment to talk about Thunderbolts. I will do chapter markers here. That way, you guys know when it gets to the spoilers section of the review. But I just wanted to take a moment to talk about the movie. Overall, I loved this movie. I think it was probably a 9 out of 10 for me, maybe an 8 out of 10 at the least, but probably a 9 out of 10 for me. They did an amazing job with Bob. The actor crushed it. I don't remember his name. What is his name? Lewis Pullman. Lewis Pullman crushed it as Bob. Obviously, Sebastian Stan did an incredible job. I love Sebastian Stan. Florence Pugh is an amazing actress. I love Florence Pugh. She does really well as Elena. The Red Guardian is incredible. I love Red Guardian. I keep saying I love. The Thunderbolts cast was great. Ghost was really good in this movie. I wasn't a huge fan of Ghost in the Ant-Man movie, but she was really good in this movie. Red Guardian was maybe my highlight because he was just so funny, but also has the most touching moment in the movie with Yelena. I liked seeing more of Yelena's backstory. I do kind of wish you got to see some more of the other characters when they were going through that moment in the movie that I don't want to talk about right now because it is kind of a spoiler. But I understand the runtime of this movie was already like 2 hours. So I don't think there was anything that I would necessarily have cut out. I think they utilized each minute of the movie very well. Bob was hilarious near the beginning, kind of funny at the very end, too. I really liked Walker in this, John Walker. I think that's Wyatt Russell, right? I really liked him in this movie. I think he did a good job. Yeah, that's Wyatt Russell. He did a really good job in this movie. Don Walker's a great character too. I really like US Agent. I liked him in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and I really like him in this. The ending of this movie is great. I like the after credit scene. What's the lady's name that's kind of an antagonist in this movie? I am so bad with names, guys. I am trying my best right now. I am talking about the one that has multiple. Oh, Valentina. Valentina did a really good job in this. I liked seeing Wendell Pierce, the actor, as one of the congressmen. That was pretty cool. Yeah, I think overall the cast crushed it. And then the story was just really good. Of course, as somebody who knows who Bob is in the comic books, I did kind of expect that twist a little bit, and they kind of teased the twist in the trailers anyways. I love the CGI for the villain of this movie just being black. All they did was just make him black, and I think that was probably the easiest editing job anybody's ever done in a Marvel movie. So I really liked that. Overall, I'm just gassing up this movie. I am such a huge fan. This is probably my favorite Marvel movie in a while. I don't think it's the best, but I would maybe put this in my top 5 Marvel projects. I loved this. It was so good. Really exceeded my expectations too, because you learn who the villain is in the trailers, and there's a moment where it's like, can the Thunderbolts do anything to this man? And that's kind of a tough question because I don't think they can. But obviously, they do something in this movie, and I think it was a pretty solid ending. Now, let's get into spoilers a little bit because I think we're just dancing around the topic a little. But if you haven't seen the movie yet and you don't want to watch the spoilers, you can end the video here. I would definitely recommend watching this movie though. I think if you're a fan of superheroes, if you're a fan of Marvel, this is a must watch. Spoilers. I cannot believe that beginning fight of the movie, this was so early into the movie. They just killed Taskmaster. So obviously, I knew Taskmaster was going to die. Pretty much everybody knew Taskmaster was going to die. They deleted her from a lot of the scenes in the trailers that she used to be in. They didn't announce her in the Doomsday cast. Like, it was pretty obvious that Taskmaster would die in this movie. They do it so fast. I thought, oh, Sentry will kill Taskmaster. No, they just kill her. And I think that's insane. Second, spoiler thing I wanted to talk about, Sentry's suit in this movie is sick. They did a really good job making a pretty comic accurate costume without it looking too cheesy. I thought it was done really well. I love Red Guardian having a limo business that somehow just picked up a congresswoman. And I also really enjoy that every time Red Guardian brings up that he's Red Guardian, no one knows who that is. I think it's just such a good running bit that nobody knows Red Guardian. I love it. Bucky's intro fight scene on the road that was kind of in the trailer was really cool. Bucky kind of got the crap beat out of him a couple of times in this movie, but that's fine. Yelena was really catching hands for a bit in the fight with Wyatt Russell's character, John Walker, in the fight against Sentry. She was getting the crap beat out of her this movie. Seeing Sentry bend the shield was really cool. I loved that moment. I do think it's funny that at the end of the movie, John Walker brings up that, Sentry could bend it back. But Sentry won't come back out because he's worried about the void, which is valid. They crushed it with the void. The scene where Yelena was interrogating that guy to try to get through the facial recognition, and you see those like flawed people in the background against the wall, the like shadow. And I'm like, wait, has the void already happened? And then late in the movie, it mentions why they're there. I thought that was a really good detail. I loved that. Bob was incredible. I loved Bob in this movie. His backstory was really good. He was very comic accurate for a Marvel character. So a lot of the time, the MCU kind of takes a lot of liberties. And most of the time, I think they do a good job with it. I don't often have a problem with it. They did an incredibly accurate Sentry. Like, I was very impressed with how comic accurate Sentry was. Right now in the MCU, I don't think there's a lot of characters that could go toe to toe with the Sentry. We have Thor, who I don't know if he's strong enough at this moment. He might be. He was pretty strong in Love and Thunder. So Thor, and then Adam Warlock, once he grows up, could probably go toe to toe with Sentry. But for the most part, he is a heavier hitter than most people in the MCU right now. So it was really interesting to introduce him in a movie like Thunderbolts. It is odd to me, a complaint I have with this movie. They keep calling themselves the Thunderbolts. And it's revealed it's because of a soccer team that Yelena used to be on. Nobody brings up the fact that they shouldn't call themselves Thunderbolts because of Thunderbolt Ross. His nickname in the MCU is Thunderbolt Ross. And they mention that the president became a red monster and destroyed a bunch of DC. But they don't mention the fact that maybe the Thunderbolts shouldn't call themselves that. And I thought that was a little bit odd, but it's something I can look past. I think my biggest issue with the movie is that they win through the power of friendship. Like, okay, I completely understand. This is often how the Void gets beaten. It's all a real power issue between Sentry and Void in a lot of different instances. There's some situations where the Void actually get beaten. I think he got beaten by Thor in one comic with his hammer. Mjolnir. I'm bad at saying it, but I understand most comic books, the Sentry defeats the Void through willpower. But it is just such a, like, cheesy way for them to win this movie because it's like the Thunderbolts aren't a physical threat to the Void at all. Not a physical threat at all. And I just think it's really funny that the way they win is giving him a hug. I still enjoyed it. I loved it. Like I said, the Void's character design was sick because they just made Bob completely black, like pitch black, with the glowing eyes, and that was such a cool effect that worked incredibly well for how simple it was. I do feel like I'm just glazing this movie. I don't know a lot of stuff I didn't like about this. I think those were my only two big gripes. I do wish you would have gotten to see the more comic accurate Winter Soldier outfit that they show at the end in the new Avengers Tower in the movie, like in use, because I thought that was just a really sick looking costume. And then I love that it reveals that, Valentina bought Avengers Tower. I think it was kind of hinted at in one of the older MCU projects. And then, you know, revealing that they're called the New Avengers. The way that Valentina did that was great. I was really impressed by how she pulled that off, calling them the New Avengers, and then having a legal battle over the name is hilarious. I do wonder, Red Guardian said to just replace the S with a Z. Legally, would that have worked? I don't know if it would have because it is still the same group. Like it's still the same concept. It's a superhero group. So I think the original Avengers would still have some legal precedence there. But I think there's a chance it would work. I do think it would be cool to get an expanded Thunderbolts team or an expanded new Avengers team, including people like Zemo would have been really cool since he's a villain and everybody in this was kind of at least a former villain. I think Baron Zemo would be cool, especially with how well he did in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But no, I did love this. I hope they go a little bit farther with this. I think that the dynamic of them having a legal battle with the Avengers will be really interesting to explore in Avengers Doomsday. Because it feels like Bucky and Sam might be at odds right now, which the last two projects we've seen them interact together, they were still very friendly. So that will be a cool dynamic to explore. It's like Bucky is being sued by Sam, pretty much. And I think that's interesting. The after credit scene with the Fantastic Four was really good, but they spoiled it. So if you're watching the credits, I always look at the songs that played in the movie, partially out of curiosity to see if something really popular played that I might have missed. And then at the end of the song list, it said Fantastic Four theme song. And I'm like, I don't remember that playing. What do you mean the Fantastic Four theme song? And then the after credit scene happens and they play the Fantastic Four theme song because they come out of the space. So they did spoil it, and that kind of sucks. I like that they say it's a dimensional rift or something along those lines, which does explain that the Fantastic Four are going to travel to a different dimension at the end of the movie, which I think is the only way that it makes sense that they're in Avengers Doomsday. Because I think the Fantastic Four movie takes place in like the 1950s. So you have to have some explanation as to how they got to the present day to interact with the Avengers and the new Avengers. I am also curious about how the Avengers team is going to be made up. And I think there's some options. You can get Spider Man back in there, Ant Man is still around. And then there's Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel, Photon, who I think is in a different dimension right now, maybe, if I remember correctly. And then, Shang-Chi and stuff like that. So I think there's some options there, but I'm curious as to what the new Avengers team will be comprised of, who the new Avengers team will be comprised of. But I don't think I'm missing anything else. I will say, this is something I brought up during the movie. I whispered it to my friend who I went with. There's a scene near the end, or like near the climax, where the Thunderbolts are saving civilians from like falling debris while the Void is attacking. And there's a scene where John Walker puts a slab of concrete on his back and is trying to push up against it. And then Ghost comes up and tries to help push. Yelena comes up and tries to help push. And then Red Guardian and Bucky come over. Let's be honest here. The super soldiers were doing most of the lifting. There were 3 super soldiers in that scene. And 2 people that I think Yelena is like slightly enhanced because of the Red Room. And Ghost can phase through stuff, but I don't think has any strength enhancements. The super soldiers were doing all of that lifting. Nobody else was doing much, let's be honest here. But overall, I loved this movie. I am such a big fan of what they did here. I think it's one of the better MCU projects I've watched in a while, and I would definitely recommend seeing it if you haven't seen it. If you haven't seen it, it's still odd that you're watching this video because I just spoiled the entire movie. So, please leave a comment if you watched the movie and what you felt about it. I would like to hear any problems that people did have with the movie that I might be missing. I've watched it once. I might have missed stuff that I didn't notice. And then like the video if you did like the video. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this. Hit that notification bell to be notified when videos are released. And other than that, guys, I hope everybody is having an amazing day. And until next time, peace.